Hey everyone, Justin Anchetta here from SF Garnish Music Production and Soul Graffiti Studios. I hope you're doing amazing today. It is Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. doing West Coast Wednesdays. That's right, every Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. we're here Pacific Standard Time coming to you live from our Soul Graffiti Studios talking about music production, all right? And there's times when, the pandemic is, what it is. And you just need to get the crowd cheering from home, doing music from home like this. I hope you learned something from this DAW work. We're working with Ableton today, but we also teach in Logic and Pro Tools, mixing and mastering, sound design, you name it, beat production. We go all there. So let's get into it today, okay? So here we are in Ableton. And what I want to do today is talk to you about odd time signature and creating beats from samples you can find and create your own instruments using simpler and finding really unique sounds online in unique ways. Okay, so just to start off, I want to make sure I'm in the right session here. I'm going to go in and go to recent sessions and Giovanna Giovanke. Save what I was working on there. Now, what we're going to do today is take a sample. We wanted to have some authentic sounds coming from this Macedonian tune, right? And one instrument, right? They have a tambourine sound that's kind of up front, but one instrument that's actually pretty close by is the tupan, the Bulgarian tupan. All right. And we had a little bit of distortion or delay for a second there as it transitioned. That was interesting. Okay, so this is our session here, and what I want to do is go ahead and bring in a tupan sound. So when I'm going to just Google search, I'll just go ahead and bring this right into the screen here so you guys can see this. Okay, this is the tupan drum, T-U-P-A-N. Okay, no, it is not this tank here. It is this drum right here. Okay, I'm just going to go into videos, right? And this is where we can search through and find out which type of thing. Now, this is using EcoAsia, and, I've had better luck using Google. So let's go ahead and just do that again. Tupan drum. Okay, and this is going to be kind of the sound that we're trying to get. And it looks like this one right here, as you see, I've kind of looked through these before. All right. Commercial starts, no worries. We're going to skip this and go right into, now this is just a basic YouTube, okay, of this instrument. And I found that the sound of it from this recording, it kind of peaks toward the end, but in the middle, he kind of hits some pretty good tones on this. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is click share and copy this. And then I'm going to just go into convert to MP3 from YouTube. Okay. Find the MP3 YouTube converter. Okay. Now MP3 is not the highest quality sound, but also the sound that you rip off of YouTube will probably not be the highest quality. As long as it's something behind your mix, I wouldn't quite worry about it. So you just go ahead and copy that in, and you press convert, gives you a link, and you download it. Okay, so that's essentially what I did to get to this point over here, where we're back in the session again, and we're going to notice how this is in 7/8 time signature at 135 BPM. Okay, so it's an odd time, 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. That's the timing of it. And I'm just going to go do a blank area. We have our song over here, and we'll just kind of make a marker so to work from in this area. All right. So what I want to do is bring in the tupan. Okay. Now I'm just going to go ahead and go Command Shift T, right? Create a new MIDI track. It's named MIDI right here. And now we want to find that sample. Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Not a MIDI track. Let's go ahead and delete that and go just Command T. We're going to make an audio track so we can just listen to it first. Jump in some stuff here. Okay. I'm going to go into my Finder. I'm going just Command Tab, right? That's a Mac feature, but definitely helps out. And then Command New to find this. And so I put my Tapon sound in a very specific spot on the computer. So let's just go in there. And we have this MP3 right here. Okay. Now let's go ahead and just drop this in. Now notice the plane of the Tapon drum. I'll make myself a little bit smaller over here so you guys can see a little more. So notice the plane of the Tapon drum and his talking is in different volumes, and he was peaking. I don't want to deal with this at all. So I'm just going to cut that up. I'm going to go ahead and use Command 4 to get off of grid so I can really plus in and cut that in very key moments. Command E to cut. Command E, Command E. Okay, I'm cutting up the Tapon drum. What we're going to do here is we're going to create a simpler drum sound from this converted track. And what essentially we're going to do is take this area I've just highlighted. You can highlight by clicking the top of it, right? If you click in the center, right, it's different. The top highlights the entire piece. I'm going to go Command Shift Backspace or delete, and Command Shift Backspace on each one of the talking points. Okay. And I'm not erasing anything that I need because I'm over here in this empty space on my song. Notice now we have the Tapon played right here straight through. Command J joins the track as one. Now at this point, we just have this sample and it's just playing randomly. It's not in the right timing. So what we're going to do is bring that into a simpler. Now this is where we go Command Shift T, bringing in the MIDI track and bring in simpler. I like it in my little collections up here. I have simpler, just basic, right? Coming in on its own. What it looks like is this. It will not make any sound until you put a sample in there, such as the one we just made. And there it is. So in classic mode, essentially it plays from that one spot, or the one-shot mode, but also slice. Now slice is what we want to use. What we want to also do is make sure that our slices are the right slices, right? So if a certain drum or sound is cut right in the middle, we kind of wanted to take that away. And what I'm doing is double clicking to take away. This is a zoom section, and I just kind of click my button and scroll up to zoom out or down to zoom in, and then sideways to zoom across. I like my mouse. It's a ball. So it's nice to have, you know, the specific features that you want for your mouse. Now at the end here, it's not taking all of them over, and that's because there's only a certain amount of cuts it can do, a certain amount of slices. That's okay though. We can actually have more at the end if we adjust the beginning, right? So this beginning, let's go ahead and just bring it to right here, because that's really all we need, right? Start there. Now I'm going to turn on record mode, and I have my push right in front of me. So when I hit the push, it now plays that. Okay. I'm noticing there's a lot of lag time on my instrument, and this is going to be something that you also really want to be familiar with. Okay. Based on your listening back in mixing mode, or if you're in performance mode. We're in performance mode right now. My latency buffer size is at 1024. I'm going to bring this down to something smaller, either 128 or 256. Okay. And sometimes when you have it this low. If you have plugins, you're going to need to freeze those tracks to record over them. Otherwise, it will have some glitchiness going on. Just go ahead and do 128 to really, what it's doing is it's kind of dumbing down our listening back so that it can play the note exactly when we want it. All right. So then what we're going to do is play this the way that we want. So I'm going to go through and find the actual notes that I want. Okay, I like those specific sounds. Now it's kind of on a big grid right now, and it's like, how am I going to find those again? So what I'm going to do is go ahead and go one step further and put this into a drum rack for you guys. All right, so what we're going to do now is let's go ahead and record this into our new drum rack. Now to do that, we want very specific sound samples from here, okay? So let's go ahead and just record the exact sounds we want. I'm going to go ahead and make this a audio track and name this as sample drums. Okay, now I'm going to send this to sample drums, right? This is sending out, right? Let's find our sample drums here in our list, sample drums. Okay. And then we're going to record on this channel. All right. And then this we'll send out to the drums. Okay. So what I want to do here is I'm just going to first record the exact thing that I want. Okay, so we don't get that feedback. So we are in auto mode so we can hear this. And I'm going to go ahead and get this back into just going to the drum bus all. Okay, let's go ahead and record this. And we don't need any click in, so I'm just going to go none here and record. All right. So there we recorded it. This can be in off mode. And now we can have this one be in mode. Now, but we want to really make sure, oh, that's why our external in. So this really has to come directly from the tap-on track. That's where that feedback came from. So this could be a one-step thing. We did it in two. 48 tap-on. So make sure you're coming from the right one. We have a couple different tap-ons now because of I made some extra ones for this demo. And so now we're just going to be pretty much recording from one channel to the next. We're not going to record this side. We're going to record over here. Let's go ahead and listen in and try this out. And it's recording over that section. There we go. Notice how it is recording all the sounds in waveform. Now, this is also a stereo track. I want to make sure that this comes in if we can, as a mono track. It's fine though. Stereo is okay. I don't want to waste too much time here because I really want to get to the point where we just take these samples, right, and bring them into the locations that we really want. Notice how it is. No, it was something else recording. It was the melodica was on. All right. So make sure you only have that one channel in record mode. We can go ahead and press 0 and just kind of take that clip out. We're not going to use that. And we're just going to go ahead and use this for now. Okay, so I'm doing a couple different steps here. I want to really note that you can, from this location, literally play the track, and I'll tell you what it will look like right away because I already did it one time. And then I'll do this new way as well. Okay, and here it is. I'll just go ahead and solo this. Now that cracking that's going on, that is because there's overloading on our CPU. So we can go back to our 1024. We're going to have to actually freeze some tracks that are using high CPU usage. And that's something that also is super helpful to do when needed. So now check it out. No problem playing it. Notice how it's playing the very specific parts. Okay, using the simpler. I'll put a little drum bus and a reverb and a limiter on this. Pretty strong limiter. All right, so that's one way to do it. That's using simpler directly in and tapping it on your pad, right? I'm using my push 2 here. Now let's go back to where we were before. We had our little marker here. And we created this sample here, okay, because we had some new samples that we wanted to work with. Go ahead and solo that. Cool. So I kind of like this sound right here being one of my samples. So what we're going to do is cut that and right click it. Okay. Now this is where you can instantly, I'm in soloing this right here, Command Shift R, and render this as a basic sample. Okay. Now it was MP3 before, the MP3 now is not going to hurt the quality of it. If I change it to WAV, it'll still have the qualities of an MP3, right? So let's go ahead and export that. And we're going to call this, tap on slap 01. Okay. So let's try the next one. This one I'll cut as well. Command E after I highlight it, and Command Shift R, and this is going to export. Come on, low 01. I'm saying 01 because we might have some other lows and highs we want to kind of categorize. These are all the same thing. Just take that one, Command E, and Command Shift R, export quickly. And this is going to be upon click 01. Right, it's kind of like a rim. I should say rim instead of click, but it sounds like a click. Okay, these are probably all about the same thing again. And render that as export to top on low O2. All right, let's see if we have any more. That sounds very similar to what we'd had in the other spot, huh? And this one is kind of a quick Command R, export. This is slap O2. So we just got a few samples. We don't need the 30 that we had in the simpler. We just need enough to kind of play the top on, basically. Okay, so what we just did is we have these samples now. We're going to go stop soloing that one. And now on this new MIDI track, I'm just going to go ahead and drop in a basic drum rack. Okay. Now, in my drums, we could just put any type of rack in there and then add stuff to it or change it up. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. And remember, I actually have done this before just to kind of, test it out before I do this live show today. But something else that I have not done is I've not saved my work. And that's something that I really encourage you guys to do. If you guys go down this rabbit hole of finding these specific sounds and you like it, save your work. Okay. We don't want that style of drum. Let's go ahead and do. All right. So this basic kit right here, okay, I could just have a drum rack that's empty as well, but this has all of these in here already. It's pretty loud. Let's bring that back a little bit. All right. So there is our sounds. Now we can essentially just keep that there and move up to a different location. Go back to our Finder. Okay. And oops, I'm not going to go in there. Right? Go back to our Finder. And there we have it. We have our different sounds. Okay. Let's go ahead and just drop these in. We want to make them in some decent pattern work. Now, I like to put it in kind of a similar thing where my lows are in kind of where the kick zone is. Let's put right there and there. And then a click might be here and slap 1 and 2 right next to it. Okay, so it shows up on my pad the same way. All right, so this is where it comes in where, let's say you have a complex song and you do this extra programming and you're like, oh man, my CPU can't hang with all of this. That is totally okay because you can customize how much CPU usage you're having. In different programs, in Ableton 11 or above, you have the ability to turn off this C function right here. Okay. And that is your ability to see your CPU usage. Okay. Right here in the master chain, there is some heavy processing going on. And let's see if I can just take that down, right? Turning that off, that actually went down quite a bit, right? This is Ozone 9 elements. Let's go ahead and just turn off some stuff here. Auto filters and effects and limiter. Okay, so this is actually down. It was just sitting there, taking up CPU usage. Now the other things, it's not showing anything else because it's not playing at the moment. Let's go ahead and press tab into arrangement view. And we're going to see which ones are taking up space. So let's go ahead and drop into our buffer size for playing along to the song at about 128 samples, right? So we're decreasing this so that our hand on our pad really responds the way that we want. Now let's go ahead and play this. All right, and we don't need all of our vocals on. Dun, dun, dun. Turning off vocals. And the tambourine needs to come out of Vocalandia and come into a new spot. Let's go ahead and put it up here. There we go. All right, so you guys can't see it because my face is there, but I'll go ahead and move this. Your CPU usage, if you look up right there, okay, above my head, it's hovering pretty high, 25, and then when I start playing, it jumps up to 60. Anything above 50, you're gonna start getting that crunchiness. We're at 61, okay? So that's where we wanna come in here and tab over and look at our CPU usage. All right, Kingsway is super peaking. What's on this Kingsway that's doing so much? Okay, looks like we have the drum bus. We have some reverbs on specific channels like our snare. Long story short, we want to freeze this track, okay? Freeze arrangement. So as this is freezing, this will allow me to talk through what's happening is when you freeze something, you're gonna still be able to listen to it in playback, but you won't be able to manipulate any of the effects on that channel. And by freezing all of the effects, the CPU, it's kind of like puts the CPU at ease, right? It doesn't have to process if it's doing something or not. It's just, you know, it put it in freeze mode so that you can have an easier playback time. Okay, so I really encourage you to do this to tracks as best you can. You know, unfreezing and freezing takes some time. So it's really in moments when you know that you really need it. Okay. And I have, I think, 32 gigs of RAM on my computer. So really, I think the biggest thing that's kind of taking up the CPU usage is external plugins. And then also racks that start getting kind of confusing. I have like, you know, specific reverbs and compressions, and the drum bus is on specific hits of this drum rack, right? So it's going to have to think about all of these things, right? Taking up some space and time. If you haven't already, please click the like and subscribe button, and please share what we're doing here. We do this every Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And as you can see here now, it has it all frozen. It actually has a different feature. It actually has it kind of blued out. I can't touch these buttons anymore. Okay. Certain things are blued out that you cannot change. Now, even in arrangement view, the same thing is blued out. So it's very clear when something is frozen. It's a nice feature. Let's go ahead and try playing this again and see if anything else pops up. Awesome stuff here. My sends are also doing some stuff. All right, bass is doing quite a bit. All right, so another way is let's see if we can actually, instead of freezing something, if we're not listening to something, we can actually go in and zero it out and see how much that does. Okay, pressing 0, highlighting it, it deactivates the clip. Let's find out what's happening here now. Okay, going to a vocal part. Notice 0 processing on that. Now, something to notice is that there's 0 processing, but we can't hear it. So the only way to hear it is if you freeze it, okay? I do, for example, for this demo, I'm not gonna have the vocals in the track, so I can just zero it out, okay? But those are two different ways of doing it. I'm gonna go ahead and zero a few, freeze a few more tracks here, okay? And I've highlighted these two, and I'm going to freeze tracks. All right, so these are the other two. It's a tambourine and the stand-up bass. It says ukulele bass, but that's actually a stand-up bass. Now, once these are frozen, our CPU usage, you know, is hovering at 25, and now it hovers at 13, and then plays around 21. That's getting a lot better to where I can track over that and have no lag time when I'm clicking on my push 2, playing the top on with our drum rack, okay? And this is a drum rack also that we're going to save into our collection so that we can always have on a fly a top on that we can now play, okay? So just to kind of walk through a few things that we did today, okay? Let's just go ahead and I'll get out of this screen here as I talk to you guys. So first, we grabbed something from YouTube, a sample of a top on drum, just randomly played, and we made a simpler instrument out of it. And now we also made a rack drum out of it, and we're going to play that rack drum, okay? So that is what we are going to do today. We just got out of that freezing mode, and we're going to go back in here and look at how this is going, okay? So let's go ahead and play this. Look at that, we're hovering at like 20%, way better CPU usage. All right, so we're gonna top on drum and talk about saving it. Let's get into that. All right, speeding this up a little bit, I have a pre-recorded top on that I can just talk about how that went and how we saved it. Okay, so drums and bass is all in this area right here. And as you can see here, we have our different drumming patterns that are coming in and out. And our top on is right here. So essentially how this is recorded, it's looking pretty MIDI-like right up here, but this is that top on that we sampled with reverb on it, so that definitely helps out. It has that natural feel. And it has a different tone for the more energy parts, like when the melody comes in, right? I just use a different sample location. Okay, after I recorded that and I want to save that, okay, just go in here and you can press save, just Command S, save the version of it. Or you can say save as. And what I like to do is put a different copy of it in here, 01, okay? And then you start going 02 all the way up to all of a sudden you're at like 1.01, etc. Okay, so once we save that, essentially we have kind of a spot where we know that that file is there and recorded. And so now I have other instruments as well in here. Let's go ahead and listen to how it sounds with the top on. Seven, eight. 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, so Jovana Jovanke, right? Macedonian melody from a long time ago that we're just kind of reproducing in electronic style. But the goal is not to sound electronic. The goal is to sound with the authentic, the tupan, comes from different parts of the world. There's even a version of it from India that's used. Specifically, I think it fits pretty well into the Macedonian. I don't know the exact name of what they call it themselves over there. But it definitely matches pretty nicely. So if you just want to have a specific group, right, to listen to, the drum and bass, let's go ahead and, right, so the stand-up bass and what the balance of that is in the mix. We also have this added in snare here. And a big hit there. I wanted to get a little rim sizzle on there, so I added that in. And then the live tambourine as well, which is very common in Macedonian music, right? It's a tambourine sound, 16th notes in 7. All right, let me just open this up and broke it down. So I just wanted to add that in around the saving it as different names, right? So it shows up right up here, right? So you can really see the name of it. O1, Giovanna Giovanke, and then we name that O2, etc. as we move forward. I hope you got something out of not only the production side of things, but also the time, the odd timing, and how we count that, right? I might as well just say that again. The odd timing of 7 as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. I like doing it either as that or 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And here's something to take with you. Morgan Nilsson taught me this one, which is that timing is either 1, 2 or 1, 2, 3, like a triangle or a line. And you can even write that out, right? So if we have a 7 count of 1, 2, 3, it'd be triangle, line, line, right? And you go 1, 2, 3, the 3 triangle sides, and then 1, 2, 1, 2. And so as you're playing a melody, you can kind of think that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. And if you want to switch that around, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then you can start doing odd timing back and forth. Maybe it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, right? It ends up getting to those 11 and 13 Balkan style dance grooves. All right, we are SF Garnish Music Production and Soul Graffiti Studios. Thank you so much for being with me. My name's Justin Anchetta, and thank you to the Garnish Music Network for inviting us out once again. We hope to see you again really soon. Take care.